Hi, everybody. Adam Savage in my cave, and today we're going to talk about swords. I might be finally adding a really important sword to my collection. This is a project that has been years in the making. Years, literal years. Like most people, I think Michelle Yeoh is like one of the greatest things to happen to humanity. I loved watching her jump motorcycles onto trains when I was a kid. I loved everything everywhere. I love everything that she does. And Crouching Tiger, Ang Lee's wuxia film, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, with Michelle Yeoh, is one of my all-time favorite movies. In fact, the week it came out, I remember calling up a friend of mine, and he's like, "How did you like Crouching Tiger?" And I'm like, "Dude, one of my top 5 just got bumped." And he's like, "I know." So I love that movie. I've watched it all the time. Really, I've probably watched it 24 times since it came out. And I love the sword in it. Chow Yun-fat plays Li Mubai, and he has this important sword called the Green Destiny, and it is the MacGuffin of the film. And Noble Collection made a replica of it. Normally, I think Noble Collection makes excellent prop replicas. I think they do a really good job of delivering an experience on average that I have liked, but not with their Crouching Tiger Green Destiny sword. The Noble Collection did an injection molded zinc metal kind of guard that just doesn't match the original at all. Several of the parts and pieces of the sword are correct, but the blade itself is not. This is the blade, and in the movie, the blade is the blade is etched with this design on it. This design is accurate, but it's not etched. I mean, why would I expect it to be etched? It's a prop replica, right? I know what I'm buying. But it came, and this is just like screen printed onto the sword. So many years ago, back when Mel was my shop assistant, Mel and Jen Schachter worked out a frisket for me of this pattern, and I went and found. Okay, there's this whole other journey, and I'd love you to tell me what kind of sword we're talking about. When you see Chow Yun-fat do his maneuvers with the sword, I'm just holding a blade. Anyway. When you see him doing his maneuvers with the sword, when he reaches the end of an extension, hang on, kind of like this, the edge of the blade does this real flappy thing. And I had to buy a bunch of different blades, to find one that did exactly that. So here's what it kind of looks like. You see how when you stick it out to the end, I mean, I'm no martial artist, but even I was able to see that this blade behaves exactly like the one in the film. So we etched it. So I have the first part of my Crouching Tiger sword of my dreams, which is a properly etched blade. It is unsharpened. It needs the sharpening, because it just looks like a flat piece of steel, and I need it to be sharpened. But the guard has always vexed me. I didn't know if I wanted to sculpt it and cast it in a clear resin. I did that for the tailpiece. The Noble Collection tailpiece was actually quite accurate, so we molded it and I cast it in a clear green resin. I have a whole bunch of different ones of these in different jade styles. And this ends up being the one I feel like is the most screen accurate. The handle, I tried carving the handle, and then I got some close-ups of the handle, and this isn't accurate. So I remade it out of walnut and still needs some final shaping. So like all the pieces of the puzzle are coming together except for these guards. And here is Sean Charlesworth did a preliminary drawing for me of the guards, and we laser cut these. And I was just playing around with some, I don't even know if I have these anymore, with some laser cut. I was thinking of laser cutting this in a clear green acrylic. That's kind of looks like what they did in the film. And then I was looking up jade type materials, like fake jade, and I found this stuff. Hold on. This is a fiberglass material. It is a resin impregnated fiberglass. It can be polished. It's super robust. It ain't breaking ever. How do I carve this? Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Hold on just a sec. I'm gonna try carving it using the pantograph mill. And And what Matthew Winchell has done for me is he has drawn the path of etching through into this 3D printed part, which will bolt and register onto the platen of my pantograph mill. And I'm about to do a test, just a little test cut, see how I like it. And if I do, then we might be off to the races, and I might be making the blade guards for the Green Destiny sword. And if we do that, well, if I get the blade guards like getting functional by the end of today, then we can start to sharpen the blade. We can start to assemble all the various parts and bits, and we can finish off the handle, which has a dragon in it, but it is an inlaid silver wire. So I'm going to be making some special chisel tools. Once I've shaped this, it's still a little fatty fat. I'm going to get some special chisel tools and actually do inlaid silver wire into the handle like the OG. And none of the prop replicas have that. Here's how obsessive I got. I even went so far as to buy a stunt sword from the sequel, Crouching Tiger, the Sword of Destiny. And this is a stunt casting of the Sword of Destiny. I thought it might be the same sword as Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, but the Green Destiny in the sequel is not the same sword, and I'm not as interested in that sword. Before we get going, the one thing that Noble Collection did spectacularly in their Green Destiny sword is the scabbard. The scabbard, the fittings, and the metalwork on the scabbard. Again, this is injection molded zinc pop metal, but perfect. Absolutely dead nuts like the film. So my hat's off to them, and the blade that I got fits in here. So what are we doing now? Now I'm starting to clean up and register my pantograph mill. I'm going to pop this in there. I'm going to start to mess with it and see what I can get. In the drawing of the 3D parts for this, Matthew Winchell drew up this, which is the outer cutout pattern for the guard. But I needed to cut this in half this way. No tool I possess in the shop, save my Japanese bandsaw, would have done that, and it would not have been a clean cut. But with my bandsaw at 115 RPM here, really, really slow, hold on, I'm going to get you a nice close-up shot. It's actually less than 100. It is the low, almost no speeds of this bandsaw are such an incredible addition to my shop. Okay, I'm going to start there because that should work just fine. Let's see here. So I hope it's clear what I've got going on. I've got a 3X pattern here, which I'm going to trace with my stylus, and I've got the G10 bolted down here, and I have plenty of G10. I've got enough for 10 of these, and I only need 2. So I've got a lot of room to screw this up. This was a laser cut template, and I used this here just to give myself a rough position about where all these details were going to end up being. So yeah, I guess it's time to start. Okay, we're gonna get a second part to this build. Part of the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon sword is that the tail end of the handle has this little silver ferrule, and at the sticking out of it is this like jade circle thing here. Hold on, let me get this going. Here is Noble Collections. This is the end of the Noble Collection sword. This part, super accurate. This part, nice and accurate. This part, not accurate at all. It's supposed to be jade, not opaque metal casting. So I made a mold of that piece. There you can see the rough shape of it, and it makes castings like this. Bingo, right? So this is a absolutely standard way I might work on a replica. So I'll slowly cast this in some different colors. Until I get a jade that I like. I really like that one. This one, garbage, but this one I like. Sorry that I held them up until they got blurry. At any rate, today I'm casting up one more of these because this one, my favorite color it is, but it's got some air bubbles in it, and I think I can do a little bit better. So I've got some Smooth On 202. I've got a mixing cup. I'm not afraid to use it. I'm going to get some gloves on. I'm going to powder this with a little talc so I get the stuff in there, and then I'm going to do a lot of mucking with this mold to kind of like really get the air bubbles out. I've also got my lab oven heating to about 150 degrees Fahrenheit, which I'm going to do a post-baking operation on this. This is just 1-to-1 by volume. By weight. Oh, copy that. And we're looking at 20 grams. Yeah, it feels like I'm actually feeling maybe I want to go one more drop, just a little more saturation. Am I wrong? Yeah, let's go one more. Okay, so that has been done. Now I've got to get some talc in here because I've got like not a ton of time. Great. I'll leave that out to dry while I put this in my lab oven. let's see how we did with our mold. I think I got it too dark. I'm gonna go with less of my stuff. Oh, it's still really soft. But no air bubbles. No problems whatsoever. All right, so I'm gonna let that set tonight. I'm gonna let that think about what it did. And then tomorrow I'm gonna redo that. All right. Yeah, we'll get one more pass at that. I'll get one more pass at this tomorrow. Okay, now I'm gonna try, while I'm waiting for that, I'm gonna try some silver inlay. This keeps on getting. Let's see here. So I'm about to try some wire inlay for the very first time. I have used a Dremel to cut this pattern that I grabbed from screenshots of the film. I have basically made a little trough, and I am going to put this silver wire in that trough like this and glue it in with CA glue and slowly basically fill in this line with silver wire. Now, what you just saw me do, which was to hammer some 12 gauge silver wire and flatten it and then slice it in half, that is all because I don't yet own a rolling mill. Jewelers have a machine to do this, and I've been debating on whether or not to get one. We'll see how much I like this wire inlay. But I am slowly going to be sitting here at the bench, putting in the wire, putting in the CA glue, buttoning it down all the way around, and then sanding it down flat. That's the goal. Okay. I've learned a lot. I'm really happy with how this came out. A couple things. I don't have a rolling mill. I need a rolling mill. Because with a rolling mill, I get a very consistent width and thickness of my wire, and I can draw my wire, I can flatten it, I can make flat stock. And in a bunch of places in this, the wire that I put in wasn't deep enough, and when I sanded it back, I lost a bunch. So I was doing all this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then I remembered from watching a YouTube video that one of the ways people hide crimes is by dropping a little dot. And so I dropped a bunch of dots and I started to really like it. I may add a few more here before we're all said and done. It kind of feels like a little like a dragon or a constellation. Yeah. So I'm going to let this dry tonight, and then I'm going to give it a super dark stain and then some lacquer coats. Get it to a nice handle finish. Things are coming along. This is like 10 years I've been working on this. It's very exciting. All right, we're ready to start cutting some cross guards. My registration plate is here, and I will draw this by tracing here, flipping this, tracing the other side, and then chucking these guys in to do the final cutout. Then there will be some voids, and those I will cut out using the piercing saw. It's a multi-step process. It should take about 3 hours is my guess. We will see. I am always more optimistic than is warranted. So let's see. I'm going to bring this over here and drop it just there so I can see. And that is going to be right there. That's a tad close for me. There we go. Dead on, beautiful. All right, we're gonna try a couple more of these. So it's just worth pausing at this moment in the video to talk about how great the pantograph router is. This is laser cut. And look, I have an issue when I see laser cut stuff up close. I feel like I can most often tell. And there's like a handness to this, but it's a little bit crappy in ways that are identifiable when you get up close that I like. It's human. It's really, really shifting me on the ways that I think about making stuff because of what's possible. Going to the 3-to-1. You might have even seen, as I'm doing the tracing, you see my pattern has a little bit of jiggle to it, but it's like maybe a 16th inch of jiggle, and I'm going 3-to-1. So what is that? 60 thou down to 20 thou? I mean, it's a spectacular machine. Chronova Engineering, one of my favorite YouTube channels, has been doing, they've been building watch parts for years by building the part large, like 8x, and then replicating it tiny using their pantograph mill. They've got a real decal, I believe. Mine's just a copy. All right, we're gonna do some piercing saw work. So I've got to, remember, I love to point out that if you're gonna build 1 or 2 of something, you wanna make 3 or 4. So I cut out 3 of these, and I had planned to cut out 3 of these just so I could screw up on one. And that's what I'm gonna do now. So we're gonna trace out some holes. Here's those holes. We're gonna trace them out and cut them out. Oh, whoops. Oh, I need a magnifier. Okay, I'm so happy with how this is going today. I started out with a laser cut pattern like this. We laser cut some clear acrylic years ago. That didn't work. This is the Noble Collection guard. What is that? I don't even know. And I cut 3. I did some tests and paints and stuff like this. And so what's happening right now is that the 2 guards are fully detailed. They need only to dry. Right now I've got them drying. I've got some clear coat on them. And that should give me, here, I'll show you here. Here is clear coat on my test piece yesterday. So you see how that, yeah, see that? See the reflection parameters of that? The clear coat gives me something that feels a little more carved than the straight milled surface, right? Yeah, that is not as good as that. That's what we're gonna get out of those. And then I got a nice casting of this piece, but it's currently just a little too different from that. It's too different from that. So I may do one more mix and try and get that to work. But now it's Friday, and it's Friday night, and I'm gonna go home. But Right, I've also got the sharpener set up, and I'm slowly also going to sharpen this blade. Yeah, but that's a different video. We've made some sword guards now, and I feel good about it. I've been thinking about ways to make these for a long time. All right, you guys have a good weekend. Adam. There was always going to be a coda. These guys are clear-coated. I'm really happy with how they came out. They are mounted. I know this looks like a horrible mess, but it's going to get totally hidden by that guy. I got to tell you, this is farther along than I have been in like 15 years on this project, and I'm so freaking excited. I'm going to do a little streaks and tips on here just to bring a little bit of weathering into the interstices to make this really feel like it's and there's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something just like that. So I'm going to do a very brief like shook pass and then I'll wipe it off, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. We'll see how it goes. And wipe it off. Okay, so the last bit on this cross guard. So now it's all screwed in. It's all mechanically mounted. I'm really happy with how the jade came out. Once the handle is on here, boo, it's going to look so pretty. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to get some, I'm going to get some glue on there. All right, let's get a little Thank you so much for watching that video. If while watching any of my videos you like any of the t-shirts that you see me wearing, well, you can go buy them. And there's two places you can get them. First, you can go to tested-store.com, a web address that my crew laughs is one of the hardest things for me to remember in my whole brain. But now they've given me a second URL. You can now go to adamsavage.com and buy any of the t-shirts you see me wearing on this channel. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff there too. Thanks.